Today we're headed outdoors to test the capabilities and admire the scale looks of an all-new crawler kit that you can assemble and complete yourself however you want. So grab your sunscreen and your koozie. Today is all about the brand new Element RC Enduro Gatekeeper. RC cars have always been best served outside, but few can take you on an adventure through the bush like trail trucks can. And the Gatekeeper is no different, except it is, but for the better, which we'll get to later. Now, like we mentioned at the beginning of this video, the Enduro Gatekeeper is a kit that needs to be assembled and the Lex and body panels need to be painted. There are other items required like the motor, the speed controller, servo, battery, and radio gear need to be added separately, as well as your own 1.9-inch tires and wheels. Now, some people see all these items required to finish off the truck as a con or a negative, but these builder kits exist so you can take a raw chassis and add all of the particular components of your choosing right from the beginning. It is usually a little more expensive to piece together your truck, and it's usually reserved for more advanced hobbyists, but it is the perfect way to have the exact truck that you want to have. Now, for building the Gatekeeper chassis, the build is easy and straightforward with a build time of about 4 to 5 hours to assemble the chassis and paint the panels. The time to add the remaining components will vary, but it probably took us another 2 to 3 hours to finish. Now, what components did we put in our Gatekeeper? First, we added the ProTech 370 TBL waterproof servo. This servo offers over 600 ounce-inches of torque and is the most expensive component we added, but having monster torque is really important to us. For the motor and speed controller, a brushless system would be ideal and provide lots of wheel speed. But for us slowpokes, we added the Team Brewed Intensity V2 35-turn brushed motor, then added the Reedy SC480X brushed ESC, which is 3S LiPo ready and features 2 LED ports on it if you want to add lights later. Now, for the battery power, we added the ProTech 3S crawler pack, and it fits perfectly in the Shorty battery box. If you want to use full-size batteries, there is a second full-size battery box included that you can install in the truck. Then the last items we added to the build are the SSD Assassin 1.9 B-Lock wheels in bronze, and then we fitted those with Pitbull Rock Beast XL tires, and we use those included Pitbull foams in the tires. Now, one cool thing about the Gatekeeper is it's pretty dang easy to outfit this thing with 2.2 tires and wheels if you want that larger and more aggressive look and stance. Now, there is a little bit of rubbing in the front end on the cage when you're steering at the extreme angles, and then your wheel flexes up, but if you added some wider wheel hubs, I think they would be perfect, and 2.2 tires and wheels would work really well. But even with the smaller 1.9-inch tires and wheels, the Gatekeeper has no problem making new trails, and it finds its way over most obstacles you can throw at it. Now, it may look a little deceiving with this full-caged body on the Gatekeeper, but this vehicle is based on the Enduro series of trucks from Element RC. The Gatekeeper kind of takes some of the best features from the Enduro trucks and then builds on that to create the Gatekeeper. But things like the Stealth X gearbox is included, where you can orient that gearbox and motor towards the front or back of the vehicle. It's up to you. And that gearbox also features overdrive options. And that gearbox is built from the manual with overdrive option 1, but you can overdrive it beyond that if you want to with overdrive option 2. The behind the axle or BTA steering is equipped on the Gatekeeper also, so the steering link is placed behind the front axle where it's hidden and out of sight for a more realistic looking front end. Another great item carried over are all the gray, hard colored plastics. These used to be option parts for the previous Enduro trucks, but all the hard plastics are included with the Gatekeeper. So what makes the Gatekeeper unique? There are a few key things, but the biggest is the new Gatekeeper Suspension Package, or GKS, which reconfigures the whole rear end of the vehicle so you still have your standard rear axle back there, but with a trailing arm suspension setup. So this setup moves the shocks more inboard, using a new shock tower and securing the shock directly to the trailing arm. not the axle. The Gatekeeper then also features a rear anti-sway bar that mounts directly to the frame rails and then connects to the suspension on those same trailing arms. It's a robust rear end that's suited for high-performance power systems and aggressive trail driving. The system is also very adjustable if you want to tinker and tune, and the new shock towers make it a lot easier because they now feature these little shock inserts that use an inner metal piece and an outer plastic piece, providing a lot of different shock mounting locations and heights to choose from. Now, speaking of the shocks, the Gatekeeper includes factory team aluminum threaded shocks in a bronze coloring. The shocks are smooth, they're filled with the included 30-weight fluid, and they look pretty dang good. You'll also find the new aluminum track bar mount on the Gatekeeper. Now, this mount is meant to stiffen up the system and make the steering a lot more precise. This is essentially achieved by bolting the track bar mount directly to the steel frame rails for flex-free steering. The last and most obvious area of uniqueness with the Gatekeeper is going to be this caged body. Now, this body is made up of injected molded plastic roll cage pieces with then 4 Lexan panels attached. Each side panel is attached with 6 screws, and then the hood and roof are 4 screws each. You could drive and run the Gatekeeper without those body panels if you wanted to, and it actually looks pretty good, but adding and removing those panels often is kind of a pain. Now, when you need to access the chassis of the Gatekeeper, the body opens up really easily with only 2 body clips in the back securing down the body. Remove those 2 clips and the whole body swings up hinged from the front end, giving you wide open access to the chassis. Now, inside the Gatekeeper, it all looks pretty standard for a trail truck, at least in the front end. Now, notice the skinny side guards to fit this new caged body. There isn't a whole lot of room to mount your electronics here, but our receiver fit with the ESC mounted up next to the servo. Now, you've probably noticed on the body that the front and rear end doesn't have proper truck bumpers, but there is kind of this nose piece on the front of the Gatekeeper, and if you go up to an object for a vertical climb, the nose will hit first before the tires, but with enough traction, the Gatekeeper still gets up and over. Now, out on the trail, the Gatekeeper body looks excellent. The interior Lexan piece is another item you'll need to paint and add decals to when you build the truck, but once it's done, the drivers add another dimension to the seriousness of this vehicle and to match the raw performance of the truck. You see, the Gatekeeper is meant to be more than just a trail truck. It's the keeper of the gate, controlling who is in and who is out. You see, it can't be your standard trail truck that you might use to pick up groceries or go check your mail or grab your kids from school. No way. Instead, the Gatekeeper is an extreme off-road vehicle purpose-built to grapple the outdoor adventure by the horns. What holds up the Gatekeeper? Nothing. Man, what a gorgeous day to go crawling. So a couple of things that I wanted to point out. The crawling performance with the Gatekeeper is great. Far better than we expected for a vehicle with a caged body, where those caged bodies typically are a bit heavier, placing weight up high compared to a vehicle with just a plain Lexan body. But the Gatekeeper holds the weight really well. The Gatekeeper has a wheelbase of 12.8 inches, so it's longer than your standard 12.3 inch trail truck. So we found if you wanted to try to climb something, go up some rocks, as long as you had traction, this thing would go up and over pretty much everything that we attempted. Now for the side hilling or rolling over while you're out there crawling, it's not nearly as bad as you might think it would be. The tendency to roll over is going to be a little bit higher with a vehicle with a caged body. But like I said, the Gatekeeper holds its weight really well, and that rear sway bar really comes into effect to help try to square up the chassis on the trail when things are really getting flexed, because that sway bar wants things to stay straight. So it promotes the vehicle staying tire side down. Now, if we had more time though, I would definitely widen up these wheels with some different hubs. Adding a little bit extra width would make this truck not only just look more aggressive and work better with 2.2 tires, but it's gonna add extra stability. Now, since we've got these SSD wheels, I picked these up. These are the wheel Hub Wideners. They're 6 millimeters per side for a total of 12 millimeters, and they have this little scale disc on there, which looks cool. I don't care about necessarily, but that extra 12 millimeters would really give us some extra stability on the trail without even adding wheel weights. But the wheel weights could be a good option for an even more aggressive setup down the road. But other than that, the Gatekeeper was amazing for us. It's aggressive, it's overdriven, you can put 2.2 tires on it, the caged body is gonna hold up a lot better than a plain Lexan body, and the thing is ready to mash through the terrain, whether there's a trail there or not. Guys, if you want more information on the Gatekeeper or any of the other things that we talked about today, we've got some links down below for you to check out. I hope you enjoyed this video on the Gatekeeper. Give this video a like if you did, hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and leave us any questions or comments down below. I'm Brett from AMain Hobbies. Thanks for watching.